Hello again, everybody. This is our eighth tag. In this tag, we'll learn about something new. It's three other platforms, which are Padlet, Mentimeter, and Fit. We have spoken previously about Kahoot, Jamboard, and Blackboard. We said that you should make a kind of registration in some of these platforms for the first time. So you should make a kind of signing up in these platforms first before you use them. But others are not required to use through making a kind of registration like Jamboard, which is one of Google applications. Now let's start with the outcomes of this session. So by the end of this session, we will be able to get access to a range of online platforms that could help you design and or adapt your activities to incorporate technology into your teaching. The second aim or the learning outcomes for this second session through our 6 platforms is to be able to select websites that are suitable to use in your context. We have already spoken about how to evaluate and select your website. We said this in the previous session. Now let's move to our first platform. As the last time, we will have a short video related to this platform. After that, we will apply what we had learned, then we will summarize it. And finally, in this session, we'll have our 8th assignment, and I wish you all to answer it. First, Padlet. You can write down padlet.com on your Google Chrome or the Explorer or something else you use to go through the internet. Here is a video. Let's start by listening to this video.
All right, in this tutorial, we are going to be learning about how to use a program called Padlet. Padlet is essentially an online bulletin board where you can post all different types of media, and then you can also have conversations with your classmates by adding comments below their posts. You'll notice here on this Padlet that I am not currently signed in. And even if you are not currently signed in, you can still use Padlet. Now, your teacher might ask you to create an account. And the reason why they would do that is so that you can use some of Padlet's features that you wouldn't be able to use without an account. And once you create an account, you'll see that your name will show up on the top of the post that you make. So to create an account, you're going to go up here to sign up. You can sign up with either an Apple email, a Google email, a Microsoft email, or you can enter a separate email and password. Make sure that you're using your school email here. I'm going to sign in with Google. That's my demo account information. I'll click on my Gmail account. Then I'm going to choose the basic membership. You're not going to be expected to pay for a Padlet account. Okay, now that we've created an account, let's go ahead and get started. Typically, teachers are going to post the instructions for what they want you to do on Padlet directly underneath the title of the Padlet, or you may also see that the teacher posts the instructions in a post that they already created. So you'll see here that your teacher has already posted something to the bulletin board in order to introduce you to the assignment. So in this case, your teacher posted some text as well as a GIF. One thing that you'll notice before you start to create your own post is that your teacher has enabled commenting. So down below, you could write a comment. Keep in mind that your teacher can turn off comments and can also delete comments. So you want to make sure that the comments that you leave are appropriate. When you're ready to comment, go ahead and click that arrow, and then you'll see your comment show up, and you'll see your name above the comment as well. When you're ready to add your own post, go down to the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and click the Add button. There you'll see that a blank post pops up. If your teacher is asking you to write something, you'll want to include your title and then write your text below. You'll notice on your teacher post Now, your teacher posted a GIF in addition to the text, and really it's this ability to add different types of media to Padlet that makes it so great to use. So you'll see here that you have some options. You can upload something from your own computer if you had it. You can also embed a link. So if your teacher is asking you, for example, to include a link to another website, all you would need to do is copy the link, and you can paste that link directly into your Padlet. The option that you'll probably use most frequently is just the option to do a search on Google for some different types of media. You'll see that it auto-populated the same search term as the title of your post. So let's say you wanted to actually show that you really like basketball. So you'll see once I enter the search term basketball that some different images about basketball are going to show up. And I could also check to see if there are some GIFs about basketball as well. Okay, so let's say you wanted to add something like this GIF. You can click on it, and then it's going to show up directly beneath your text. Once you're ready for your post to show up on the board, go ahead and click off of it, and then it's going to be there for everybody in your class as well as your teachers to see. That's the bare bones basics of Padlet. There's a lot more you can do with it, however, so stay tuned for some future tutorials where we'll talk about.
All right, this is a brief summary about how to use Padlet. Now we'll apply it by ourselves. So the first step is to write down padlet.com on our Google Chrome. Let's move to practice this. Right, as I had already made an account on the Padlet, when I write down Padlet or go through this links, I will open this front page. Here is on the top left of the page, my name, this is me, and this is the links related to this page. Here is the Padlet, which I had already made. When you open it for the first time, you will find this bookmarks as a kind of template in your Padlet. Unfortunately, it's free for 3 only Padlets. You can do them or the whiteboards. So if you want to add the fourth one for free, try to delete the first 3 ones to start from scratch and have 3 more again. If you want to keep your work, you can download it and then delete it from the site of padlet.com. Right, here on the top right, you will find join a Padlet. If you have a link to this Padlet, you can click it and write down the link or come and paste it in this place, and you will find yourself in this Padlet ready-made from someone else. But if you want to make a Padlet, you can press this sign in the red background and start. Let's start doing our first Padlet together. We'll press make a Padlet. Here it gives you some templates to select from. First, wall, stream, grid, shelf, and you can use it with your social studies teacher to make a kind of map which you can put some labels on them and rename the places. Here is you can give this site to your friend and ask him to use it with his students. But for us as English teachers, we can use this first wall. For example, we will select it and start our first bucket. Select. Here is starting our Padlet. It gives you a background. You can change it as we'll see after a while. Right. On the right side of the page, we can find the title. Here is my ready-made redundant Padlet. I can change this title and give my title, for example, we'll name it NTTP Year 3 tag 8, for example, and then we'll move backwards to find the description. If you wanted to make a kind of description, you can write it down here. For example, good luck. As you see, when I write down on the right side of the page, you will find it on the left side. This is our title, and here is what we are writing as a description. You can use it to write down your name here, and then move to other properties. Here you can change the color and wallpaper of the page. Let's see. We'll change it and choose something else. For example, we'll choose a picture. For example, here and choose whatever the picture I want. For example, I choose this. As you can see that you changed the background of the page. Let's move back to the properties again. Now I can change the font which I use in writing. You can see that the font is changed on the top left side of my page. You can navigate or explore other options here and go through this other option. Now I had made this first features. Here is how to modify, and then I will press next button over here. Next. Right, you are set post to your artist content. Start posting. Now this is my Padlet ready. First, I will write down the first Padlet. I will press the plus sign on the bottom corner to the right here. When you press it, let's see, it gives you a bubble to write it. What is the subject? I can ask my students to answer a question. For example, what will you do to use this platform in your class? This is a question. I can here add more options to my question. I can, for example, add a page from Word, Excel, and so on, some sheets. I can take some photos, upload a photo, or upload a link. Here is, I can use some other features. It gives you this icons. Here I can write down the URL of a link I wanted to put it in this Padlet. I can upload a file, take a photo through a camera, use a video recorder to record something for my students, or to use audio recorder. I can record something to ask my students. Let's start with this, for example. It is starting to set your microphone to make a kind of audio calling for your student. I will press this icon here to start my recording. Hello, my dear students. I want you all to answer the question I have made for you. You can answer by using 150 words through 2 paragraphs. Best wishes for you all. I press here. Now I can send this record in my Padlet by using playback and save. When I press it, this recording will be on my Padlet and first board like this. I will press save. You can listen to what you have already recorded. Here is the sound which I have recorded. It's for 17 seconds. I can press it and listen to it again, modify it, remove it. As you see, I can remove it and re-record it again if it has some defaults and so on. So this is my question and the recording. After that, I can press publish to start with my first Padlet. I can add an image if I want and ask my students to write a paragraph of blah, blah, blah words about this image, describing it, or asking them to answer some questions related to something in my curriculum. So let's start with publishing this first Padlet. Here's my first Padlet. Listen to it again.
Hello, my dear students. I want you all to answer the question I have made. You can answer by using 130 words through paragraph. This question
Right, here you can download this audio and use it in your class, right? And when you give your students the link to this Padlet, he should press the plus icon and start writing down the answer to your question. Like this, he will start by pressing this and starting writing down blah, 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 answering the question and then press publish. It will appear in this side like this, and his name will appear in here. So you can give your students some hints like this. I will press here and write down some edit post and give my students some hints related to what they are writing or what they have already posted on this Padlet. Right now, how can I give my students this Padlet? I will press here to the top right of the page, share. Right. How would you like to share your post? I can go through this, copy the link to clipboard and post it on your WhatsApp group and ask your student to press the link and answer the question. Or I can get QR code and send it to my students and ask them to search for this QR code and go through the Padlet and answer the question. I can share it on Facebook, on Twitter, or save it as image or save it as PDF. I can use it as PDF and print it and distribute it or hand it out to my students in the class and ask them to answer. I can download the audio and and play it to my students in the class and ask them to answer the question. You can do whatever you want. I can print this page as a kind of activity and ask my student to answer it. You can do and navigate this sharing site and give it to your students. You can look at other settings related to this site and benefit from it. Now I will return back to our main presentation and have a kind of summary related to our first platform for today, which is Padlet. So let's summarize what we have learned through Padlet. When I write down Padlet and make a kind of signing up or registration in this site, I can start my first Padlet. When I press the create a Padlet, I will find this this page. I will press the word Google and start my first Padlet. Here is the name of the owner of this Padlet, and here is the number of Padlets you have. I think you should delete some of this. You can press the three dots over there and choose the option delete to make it 2 or 1 or delete the 3 and start again. When you want to join a Padlet, you have the link to this Padlet. You can press the icon here, join a Padlet, and give it the link and start making a Padlet needed. Or if you want to make a kind of new Padlet, you can press here and start as you had already seen. Here is the assignment needed for this platform. What topics can you use on Padlet? I want you to answer the questions on our Google Classroom. The second question is create an activity on Padlet and invite your colleagues to do it. So this is two activities I wish you all to answer on our Google Classroom. Now let's move to the second part of our session today. It's a platform called the Mentimeter. So when we write down mentimeter.com on our Google Chrome, we will find some useful information related to this site. Let's first listen to this video, watch it.
Hi, I'm Mark Dixon. Welcome to your first episode of Tuesday Tech Tips. Each week I'll be highlighting a different digital tool that you can use with your learners. This week we're going to be using Mentimeter. Mentimeter is a brilliant live polling and voting solution that will let you engage and interact with your learners in real time. And it's free. So let's jump in. Okay, to kick off, go to mentimeter.com. From here, you can then click the Get Started button, fill in your details and set up a free account. On there, you can log in. This takes you to the home page where you can see any presentations you've already created. So we're going to create a new presentation. So click the button. And we're going to see. So now Mentimeter gives you options for different kinds of questions that you can ask. Start with multiple choice questions. So if you need to type in questions, so we're going to type in what's the most common cause of accidents. So then here you've got answer options. And I want to have 4 answers. So I'm going to click add option to there. So the first answer could be option 2 could be by falling objects. Option 3 could be slip, trips and falls. And finally option 4. Now that puts in your questions here. You can also decide how you want to display your answers here. One thing that we need to do is to select the right answer from this. So if we click the select correct answers, show correct answers, and slip, trips and falls is the most common, and then we've got the question finished. Now I'm going to create another slide. This time I'm going to create a word cloud. So again, we need that question. Words and phrases associated with health and safety. Now here it says how many entries per photo, so you can change that if you wanted to. And you can also allow the audience to submit. There's also a profanity filter. Swearing, at least in English. So what we're going to do now is look at the learners. I'm going to get the learners to go to menti.com. To submit this code here, which is 1227. So submit, and if we click the present button again, so the first question, what was the most common cause of accidents in the construction industry? Well, I know it's that one. That's right. And then if we go to the next slide, and this time words that are associated with health and safety. So I'm going to put it here with injury. Okay, you've got to see the results live, and those words come straight into the presentation. So I've allowed for multiple inputs, so this time we'll put risk in again twice. Right, risk is growing because more people submitted that as an answer. So this workload can show you what are the common answers for those kinds of questions. So that's how you create those question slides. You can use Menti within your PowerPoint presentation. Use the hyperlink to menti.com and then the learner could then access your PowerPoint and still submit their answers. And it would also be great live if you conducted a webinar and multiple students together. You could then set them all to that Menti and get them to enter the code and then see their answers live and have a discussion around some of those answers. Let me know what you think, and if there are any tools that you're using that you think could be shared on Tuesday Tech Tips, then get in touch and let me know. Until next week, take care.
Right, this is about Mentimeter. I think it's a kind of using simple questions. You can use it in making a kind of questionnaire for your students. Let's see how can we use this Mentimeter. First, we'll write down Mentimeter on our Google Chrome, and then if it's needed, you should make a kind of signing up in this site to make a kind of registration. After that, you will find out this home page or front page when you write down mentimeter.com. So this is my page, right? It's recommended, not now. You can start here by making a new presentation if you want, or this is my presentation which I had already made before. I can press the three dots and remove them or modify them. Here is how to share them, rename or remove them from the list, or move them to other places. I can use this, but later. Here you can find out your previous presentation. Now let's start with our first presentation. Right, I will press new presentation. Here's the title of our presentation. Now we can write down NTTP Year 3 tag 8, for example, and create a presentation. Now is preparing to create our presentation. Let's see. It may take some few seconds. Here is the page which I will write down. This is the name of our presentation, NTTP Year 3 tags. You can change this title if you want, but it's saved. Here is the type of the presentation you want to use: multiple choice, word cloud, open-ended, scales, and so on. You can find out a lot about this, and if you scroll down, you will find content slides and so on to use. Let's start with our first multiple choice, but unfortunately, you will see that you don't have the opportunity to use more than 2 types of questions. So be concentrating and choose 2 types. When you use them or download them, apply them with your students, you can remove them and start from 2 slides from new presentation for new presentation and so on. There is multiple choice. Your question is, we'll start with a question. For example, did you use this site in your teaching? This is the question I've written. And
رحت اشوف سعيد انا لسه ما جاش. هو ازاي تقدر حد عليا؟
Mr. Abazim, mute yourself if you please. Mr. Abazim.
حسني ابو راشد راح يقول لامين ما اعرفش من ورايا كيف
مستر عبد
Take it
العظيم
this, mute
mute
yourself if you
please.
please. As well, find the options which are the answers of this question. First, I will write yes, for example. No. Sometimes. And I can add other options. Here I can choose the best answer, drag down, show correct answer. When I press it, now I can choose one of these answers to make it the best answer or the right answer. Here is appear some new icons. I can press here to make it the right answer, for example. So appeared here the tick. That means this is the correct answer. Now let's present it or see it. It will appear like this for your students. Here is your students will have the link menti.com, not Mentimeter. When you give it to your students, he will log on to menti.com, not Mentimeter, or he can use the code. This is a code related to our presentation. You can copy the link here and give it to your students, as we have already said before. When your students answer this question, you will find a ratio related to each answer. You will find how many students answered yes and how many students answered no, and sometimes, and you will have a kind of summarizing for your answers. Now let's go back to our main page. Exit. Let's go back and add a new slide or new question. This is our first question. Yes, no, sometimes that you use this site in your teaching. I will choose another kind of questions. We have pressed more than a time, so this is our NTTP Year3 presentation. I will open here the three dots and start to modify my presentation. I will press over here or choose edit to open it. Now I will add another type of question. I will press the word type here. I will add a new slide here from the top left side. This new slide will be, for example, word cloud. Now I will write down the question over here. Here is write your question. I will ask my students to write a list of the new words you learned in our, for example, tags. right? As how many words can my students enter in this list? It's up till 10 words only. You can choose to give your students the opportunity to write down 10. If you choose 11 and more, you will not be accepted, so return back to 10. This is the maximum. You can drag and drop a picture here to give your student. For example, let's see if I wanted to associate my question with an image to use in this question. Let's see. I will drag one. I pressed here. Here is asks you if you want to upload this from your computer or from the library, or you can write down the link to the picture you want to associate with your question. Drag and drop, click here. I will click here to choose a picture. I will choose, for example, this picture, school tools, and I can ask my students, then open, to write down some words related to the school tools. This is my picture, and then I will save. Here I put my picture on the right side of the presentation like this, and you can see that this is the link to this presentation. It's www.menti.com, and your student can use this code to enter this presentation and write down the answers here. Now I can present this presentation and give the link to my students to answer. This is what will my presentation be like when my students see it and answer it. Right? Now let's go back. After finishing this, I can give my students a code or link through WhatsApp or Facebook and ask them to answer this presentation using Mentimeter. But unfortunately, you are not allowed to use more than 2 slides in one presentation. Here is share. I will press the icon share on the top right of the screen to get my link or my code to give it to my students. So I can copy the link here. This is the link. I can copy it or give my students the code to enter menti.org.com as we had already said. And when he asks the students to write down the code, they could write down this code and enter my Mentimeter. All right, let's return back to our main presentation and summarize what we have learned through this Mentimeter. Okay. So if you want to create an account by logging on to mentimeter.com, you can press sign up for the first time or log in for other times as you had already made a kind of registration before. You will find out this homepage. After that, this is your first page. Here you will find your presentations. You can create a new presentation. Here is your previous presentation and some information related to them. You can edit them or delete them or make a kind of modification on them through these 3 dots on the right corner After that, you will have this main presentation, and here is menti.com and the code for your students to log on to your presentation or Mentimeter. You can choose the type of question here and write down the question and the answer over there. You can preview this presentation to see what will this presentation like with your students and to make a kind of presentation to see more clearly how it would appear to your students. After you have finished, you can add another slide, but as we said, you can add 2 slides only in this free edition of Mentimeter, or you can upgrade it and pay for it and add as you want slides as you wish. After that, you can share this Mentimeter slides or presentation with your students and ask them to answer questions. Let's see the is how to share it. And here is our assignment for this Mentimeter. I want you to create an account on Mentimeter and to present a presentation and share it with your colleagues on our WhatsApp group. Now, this is the last site or the last platform. It's very beneficial and very good in using for the teachers of math or science, especially for teachers who teaches um, chemistry, biology, or physics. You can give this site, it's fit for your colleagues in your school and ask them to navigate through. It's very, very, very useful. And it has a kind of simulation. They can do a lot of experiments or write down some formulas related to math or science through this simple and easy use site. Let's at first learn how to log into this fit.colorado.edu site, and we will after that practice what we will learn in this video, and then we will summarize it. Let's start.
Hello, today we're going to be doing a tutorial on PhET, interactive simulators for math and science. So right away when we pull up the site, this is the home page that you see. You can go ahead and log in. You can actually get access to everything without even needing to log in. So right away I go to simulations here and it will pull up all of the different simulations: physics, chemistry, math, biology, science, all of those. You can go ahead and browse these if you want to dive deeper into all the math categories. So click there and they will all pop up there. Now, depending on what type of simulator, we can choose any one. This is going to be the site or the image that you see for all of them. Before we get to the simulator, what I do want to look at is these top 2 tabs. First about is the About category. It tells you a description of the simulator, what to expect, and then the goals as well. On top of that, we have the 4 tiers. The first thing I want to look at is right here. This is kind of an instruction page. Now, this is even something that you can pull up and go through what each part of the simulator is with the students, telling them what each button does, what kind of things you can do with it. And then on top of that, they give options for customizing and even modifying and suggestions as well. So this is something I would kind of go over myself first, play around with it a little bit, and maybe pull this up to go through with students. But on top of that, we have activities that you can do with them. Now, there aren't activities directly with this. They are actually teacher submitted. So kind of going through these, you can take any one of them and actually make it your own. So for instance, this one, they have 4 different activities: calculating speed and height, relating graphs, position and speed. So 4 different activities here. You can take this and change it to however you want to make it fit your classroom. But there's a lot of different ones down here that they just provide the simulation. They don't necessarily provide the assignment to go with it or lab sheet or anything like that. So
An intro is pretty basic right here. You can put your skater right on there, and then you can see what's going to happen. Now, we can also insert other items like this. We can set energy, switching between kinetic and potential. Where does the skater have the most potential energy? Where does it have the most kinetic? The speed. Over here on this right side, we can change a few things around. We can change the mass of our skater, causing the friction to be more. We can actually change the amount of friction, so eventually they're going to start slowing down and stopping. We also see our thermal friction there. We can also change what our track is. We can pause it at certain spots to see the pie chart that's provided. We can go frame by frame going through it. We can even have them going slow so we can see that graph a little bit better, and then reset the entire thing. If we wanted, we could also switch down here at the bottom. So now we can measure our item, our kinetic potential. Pause it right here. Right there. What is our kinetic energy at the top? What's our potential energy at the very, very bottom? Other things like measuring the distance from bottom to top. There's a lot of different things that we can do with this, and a lot of great other simulators to go along with all of these. If we want to go look at a math simulator, all right, let's say we're going to get some area with practice with area, so we can play the game here and we can get going with it. So your goal area 61, 1/2 perimeter 16. So we can go ahead and play around with that. We're trying to make an area of 21, so we can go ahead and make our unit. Check it, it's wrong, right? We need to get some numbers there to help us out, doing a little calculation there. But a lot of different simulators, a lot of really great things that you can use. Using them as online lab, homework, extension activities for kids who need more practice or who want to go ahead. A lot of great simulations to play around with. Go ahead and see what they are.
Right, now it's our turn to use the site and give our colleagues, math or science teachers a kind of information related to how to use these sites. When I write down feet.colorado.edu, I can go through this site by doing a kind of registration or signing up using my Google account or my Facebook account and so on. Now this is my page. There's a kind of simulation. You can use it in physics, chemistry, math, earth science, and biology. Let's start with physics, for example. It gives you a simple sample to use and modify through. You can use it in your class with your students to give them some hints related to this subject. Let's scroll down and see. Here's 50 results related to physics. Now, on the left side of the screen, we'll find these lessons related to physics. I can teach them something related to motion, sound and waves, work and energy and power, heat and thermo, quantum phenomena, light and radiation, and so on. You can choose from this. If you choose the chemistry, you will find these lessons related to chemistry, and this is math and earth science, here is bio, and so on. Let's return back to our physics, and we'll find 50 results. Here is the lessons I can use. I can scroll down to see which lesson I want to use or to give my students some experiments or simulation related to them. You will find these 50 lessons. Let's choose one of them. For example, we will choose density. It's related to which substance will float over the water and which substances will sink through the water. And here is, we'll see this video. I can download this video from this icon and I can share it on my Google Classroom like this, or on Facebook page or Twitter if you want. Now let's start. We'll press this icon to start our lesson and see what can we do in this fit lesson. Here is we have got 3 slides. The first slide is a kind of intro. The second is a comparison. And the third is a mystery. This is a kind of questions you can ask your student. Let's start with the intro. Here he gives you a weight of 2 kilograms and it's floating over the water. I can change the mass of this weight by clicking here. It will be like this, right? Or I can move the pointer like this. I can change the volume related to this, or reduce it, increase it or reduce it, and see what would happen, right? This is wood, and I can just change this material. If I use wood on water, it will float. Let's see what will happen if we choose something else. For example, we have got ice, brick, and aluminum. I will choose aluminum and see. When I choose aluminum, it sank down to the bottom of the basin which I use water in. This is because the density of aluminum is more than the density of water, so my block sank in the water. You can change and choose something else. Let's see, it's ice, for example, and we'll see. It will be suspended in water. Now you can change the mass and the volume and see what would happen, and give your students the formula that density equals mass over volume, and give them some more examples, give them some numbers, and ask them to answer the questions related to calculate the density of this material and so on. Now let's move to the second slide. Here is the second slide. Let's press it. He gives me another object, and I want to make a kind of comparison between the two objects. This is ice and this is aluminum. For example, here is ice and there is aluminum. This is by the red color and this is by the blue color. Let's move to our next slide. Here is compare. I will press it and see. This is a kind of comparison between two substances. If they are of the same mass, as I can use 5 kilograms like this, but the volume is different. Let's see, I will move it to the basin, drag and drop, and this is, I will drag and drop. As I can give my students some hints related to the the material which is floating over here is with less density than water, and so the object is floating over here, and this is a substance which, like iron or copper and something else, like metals, which have the density more than 1 or more than water density. I can press same volume, so I will find out all the boxes are of the same volume, but they have got different masses, and try to use this experiments more than a time and ask my students to give some explanation why. I can move to the third slide and ask my students to answer some questions related to the volume or the mass of these substances. Here I can press here and find out the material and the density. We'll find that water is 1 and the material above water with less density than 1 will float like wood, gasoline, apple, ice, human, and so on. It's less than 1, so they will float over water. And if the density of this material like diamond, titanium, steel, copper, lead, and gold is more than water, it will sink in the basin. So I can give them some numbers related to the density of each of these materials. Now let's move to another subject. We practice first physics. I can practice bio or chemistry. I can navigate through this site and practice simulation related to math. For example, let's see a quick look for the formulas and the geometric experiments or lessons they can give me and give me the opportunity to deal with. So this is the math lessons. Number line, ratio and proportion. Here is operation on number line, and you can find 41 results related to math. You can make a kind of formulas and benefit from this latest and make a kind of diagrams to use algebraic or geometric terms. This is, for example, fractions, mixed numbers, introduction to fractions, and so on. How can you build your fraction? You can give your students some fractions and collect them together and ask your students to say the right amount of this fraction. And you can draw graphic quadratics through this experiment. You can give this site to your math teacher and ask them to navigate through and benefit from the benefits they are giving to these students and these teachers. Now let's return back to our main presentation and summarize what we have learned through this fit. Here is fit.colorado.edu. This is the interface. You can start with experiments or simulation through physics, chemistry, math, earth science, biology, or go through this site to learn more about it. Here is an example as we have already learned it. This is the physics lessons, math lessons, and the chemistry lessons. You can choose the grade level you want. So I can choose elementary school. This is for primary stage, middle school for prep stage, or high school for secondary stage. You can find out some experiments associated with the level of university students like this from this site, and you can use them freely and as experiments as you want. Here is another point. You can use nearby as we have learned in the previous session and associate it with fit. You can choose fit and associate it with nearby as we learn it and make it a kind of lessons and to have the link and to give it to your students to answer. Right? The assignment related to this site is to try it and try to find some ways to explain some new information related to connect plus or connect for the fourth primary stage, which is very rich with some science, math, or social studies experiments and information. You can use this simple simple site to give your students some hints about this experiment or some information they are not knowing about. Now, this is the last part. This is our assignment for today. I want you to make a kind of reflection and action plan. I will upload this 8th tag assignment on our Google Classroom site. I wish you have learned something new in this session, and I wish you all the best of luck till we meet again next week. Thanks and goodbye. See you later. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Abdurrahman.
Thanks, Mr. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Abdurrahman.
Thanks, Mr. You are welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Abdurrahman.
Thanks, Miss. Thanks and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.